to episode 54 of the Sounds of Stadia podcast. You're joining myself, Chris, one of your hosts this week, alongside the techie teacher himself, the man in the purple cube, Mr. Tom.
Still not able to shake this illness, but mustering up the energy to be here.
He's with us
week after
anyway.
week.
He'll fight through in his incubated isolation cube. And right below him, the man of many pixels, the man who thinks he's better than the Edge from U2 himself, Mr. Richie. You weren't expecting that one, were you?
I was not.
You're not expecting that one. We're going to call Richie the Edge from now on.
I'm not better than the Edge, to be clear. Slashes.
Just to be clear. Okay. So he's throwing some stuff out there already, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to, as I mentioned, the Sounds of Stadia podcast. We bring you a condensed podcast, weekly news focused around gaming and Stadia. We've got a great show lined up for you this week. We're going to talk about our new pro games for October that were recently announced last Tuesday. Got a hell of a list, guys, to work through. We've also got some information about Stadia features like crowd choice going live. We're going to talk about that. We've got some big news from Google where they announced some new up-and-coming products from their home range and their Nest range and their Pixel range and Stadia range, maybe? Yes, no?
Other ranges.
Other ranges. We'll get into all of that. But just wanted to start this week off, gentlemen, by just running through some brief housekeeping. So we had quite a busy week last week. We recorded our podcast live as part of the Sounds of Stadia celebration. We had our wonderful winners out there. Congratulations to Barry and the other two gentlemen who won the US. Was it both US dollars we gave out, Tom?
No, one was US, one was UK. So that's a shout out to Lord Vivek on Twitter. Great name, first of all. And secondly, it was Anders D, who is a fan from Yorkshire
With his puddings.
Yorkshire.
And his tea. Yeah,
Sean Bean.
Sean Bean from Sheffield. But yeah, so we had a busy week. Tom, you've obviously still not recovered from that week.
No.
And,
I'm still the lurgy, still the hangover.
Still the lurgy. But we had a fantastic time. And for those of you who are new to the show, go back and check that out. We did a full 15 hours plus of content last week in terms of celebrating Stadia and gaming and ourselves, and we wouldn't be here for you wonderful people out there as well. So massive shout out as well to some of our new patrons. We've got Kumna on board and Dave himself, so thank you gentlemen, throwing us those extra couple of quid over there really does help us out and encourage us to make better content for you. And don't forget, if you are a Patreon member, you do get our exclusive post show a whole 5 days earlier than the general public as well. So don't forget, there are some extra perks like Discord chat and private game sessions with us as well. So if you're interested in that, you want to play along with us, reach out, get in touch, patreon.com/Sounds of Stadia. But before we get into all the important news this week, we just want to do some brief housekeeping. We've been quite busy ourselves in terms of pushing content for you lovely people out there, out the door. I think to start off with, I personally got back on some Monster Boy action. Tom, you abandoned me this week.
I did.
And I had to go back all on my lonesome. You left me in a prison as well. Of all the places to leave me, you left me in a prison with an owl.
You shouldn't have got caught, Chris. You shouldn't have got caught.
I couldn't help it. Tom led me down the path to being caught.
I mean,
it was
this is what usually happens when it gets to like October time, Halloween, doesn't it? There's usually some sort of abandonment issues going on there. There's people being left by themselves. They always say never split up the group. Unfortunately, we split up the group.
We split up the group as well. But we got some great action going on with Monster Boy on there. Had another interesting episode. I went to a graveyard, gentlemen. Graveyard. And aside from that, Tom, you checked out Risk of Rain 2.
I did.
Tell us a little bit about your fest experience with that, because that dropped on the day before the pro games, right? So Risk of Rain 2 came out on the 30th of September, literally right before. It might have even been the 29th, actually. And I'll have to double check that. But yeah, I jumped into that, did some recording, got a good solid hour plus of gameplay there, including the new level Sundered Grove that is currently timed exclusive to Google Stadia. So go check that out if you want to see that, even if you're just a Risk of Rain fan and haven't had the opportunity to check it out yet on Stadia. Definitely give it a look, and there's a little link underneath to skip you directly to the timestamp for that point too if you want to see that. But great game, loving it. I'm sitting down and blasting through a couple of rounds every day so far because it's just something that I'm finding is really enjoyable. Interesting, yeah. So if you're interested in Risk of Rain 2, I hope it's not kind of swept under the rug a little bit by the pro games they're launching, because even just personally myself, having 6 games free immediately the day after it launches does make you question whether you want to spend money on a game when you've got such a kind of smorgasbord of games, and I wonder if people sometimes overlook it.
It's questionable, isn't it, when the games are launched, just on that basis.
that's it for me. It's a sort of game. If it came out in quite a quiet period, I'd be more tempted to buy. But at the moment, it's just kind of okay. Here's another game. If it was a pro game, I would have definitely played it. Yeah. But I'm saving my pennies for some bigger titles coming up.
Saving them pennies, saving them cents. And we both had a busy week as well on Thursday. We dropped in and played some Dead by Daylight using crowd choice, but we're going to talk about that later on because it does form part of our weekly news. But we jumped in with the community. All the wonderful people out there stopped by and checked us out, basically kill each other and find out that both myself and Tom go quite maniacal when we're given power to kill people.
I haven't slept since.
The fear is real. But yeah, thank you for everyone for stopping by for that. So we've had a busy week, and as I mentioned, we've got a great show lined up for you. So without further delay, Tom, would you like to introduce us to...
Absolutely, the super sexy special Stadia Story segment, aka the news.
The news.
The news again. Following on from last week too, we still got this partnership with Stadia Source, so big shout out to them as well. StadiaSource.com are our sponsors, our affiliates over there. The number one source for Stadia news and reviews, so go check them out.
So to start things off, then kick things off this week with the news, as we mentioned, we had 6 pro games drop on us this week. It felt like they were leaving it down to the wire, but we've got to remember these drops always kind of go in tandem with the way the calendar works. I've seen a few people getting a bit antsy, thinking we're nearly at the end of September here. When are they going to announce them? And it kind of just is the last Tuesday before the first of the following month. And the games got all dropped in thick and fast, mind. I think we need to start off with probably... I probably want to say my top pick of the bunch, which is Celeste. So I'd like to throw either of you two gentlemen jumped into Celeste yet and have had a play around with it.
I actually bought Celeste when they first released it on the platform, so I'm not too fussed by it because of the fact that Celeste is such a damn good indie title. Like, if you haven't had the chance to play Celeste yet, you're doing yourself a disservice. Try it, especially now that it's free.
I'm not too fussed about it because it's an awesome game.
No, I'm not too fussed about the fact that I bought it.
Oh,
is what
okay,
I'm saying. The fact that that I purchased it rather than it coming out on Pro. Yeah. That's what I meant by that. Sorry for the confusion. Yeah. No, Celeste is a damn good indie game, and it's absolutely well worth checking out. The story is top tier. Like, just if you're the kind of person who judges games based on their appearance at a surface level and just look at the 2D art and go, oh, I'm not really interested in pixel games, scrap that. Give it a shot because the story is absolutely worth it. It's so good.
Yeah, I think Sorry, go Richie.
It's one that I definitely need to jump into. I didn't buy it when it came out because I was hoping it might come out as a pro game, and I already have it on Switch. So I was like, I can't really justify the purchase, even though it's an awesome game. I want to support the developers when I already own the game.
Okay,
but I'm definitely going to jump back in now. It's on Stadia.
Yeah. So you said there, Tom, in regards to purchasing it already, this is still a problem in my opinion that pro games are doing. They're still, like, I know Richie, you didn't get it because you had it on Nintendo Switch already. I didn't personally have it. It's one that's been on my radar since it first came out on other consoles and platforms, and it won all like the Game of the Year plaudits and such, rightly so. But I've been holding off because of the price point it was at several weeks ago did make me feel like it may be a pro game, and here we are. And there's another game on this list as well, which was also released not too long ago, which I believe, Tom, you bought as well. So
I also bought it, yes.
It's back to this. It's great we get these games, but does something need to be done about these games going free to pro? Because I know everyone always sometimes compares it to, well, it happens on PlayStation Plus and it happens with Games of Gold, but Celeste on PlayStation Plus it's already been out for over a year, so it's not the same. Whereas on Stadia we're getting them, and then we're talking mere weeks before they're being given for free. So
I still think it is a problem, kind of, but the problem I think will resolve itself as we get more games on the platform. Mm-hmm. It seems more of a problem now because it's a much smaller sample size. Yeah. The one where I do say there's definite problem is where it's literally a game comes out, then the next month it goes on Pro. Celeste, we had it for a couple of months.
I do think it's inevitable. We did. Yeah. I do think it's inevitable that we get to a point where games that are on the platform already are going to become pro games. Like it happens with other platforms already. The amount of games that have now come out on PS Plus that I already own physical copies of, you know, you see that happen, and then suddenly you go to your local like game store or CEX in the UK, and you suddenly see like a massive collection of all the physical copies because all of a sudden people have got the game for free. It's going to happen. I think what Google Stadia is doing quite well for me at the moment is sort of changing my mentality about how I think about spending my money when it comes to games. And rather than me buying titles that I want to play, I'm now buying titles to support the developers instead, because I want to see growth for that kind of game on the platform, or titles by that company, that I'm more willing to invest in those. It's like I've been quite vocal lately about Jedi Fallen Order, and not to get too far off the topic, but you know, I already own that, and I've said before on the episode, when it comes to Stadia, I'm going to buy it again because I want to see more, and I want to see more Star Wars titles on the platform. I'd love to see more Respawn games on the platform, and I'd like EA to show more support for the platform too. So I'm going to have to pay out for it, but I'm happy to do that because it's a great game. And the same thing rolls out with these indie titles right here. I just feel the same way.
I think a lot of it comes down to how much spare money you have, really. I'd love to support developers more than I do in the similar sort of way, but I have less spare income, so I tend to buy. I have no problems buying a game, then like 6 months later it comes out as a pro game, because chances are in that 6 months I've already played everything I wanted to of the game. The only time I have issue is when it is literally, here's a cool looking game I'm really interested in, buy it, and then like a couple of weeks later it's like now free as part of my pro subscription. That's happening less. It seems to be happening less, and I think that problem will go away. But I think it is that timeline as well. It's a combination of how you see it is your own personal financial situation and the timeline between release and going pro.
Unique to the individual. But I, for one, can't wait to play Celeste. Like I said, it's been on my radar for quite some time. I haven't got around to it this weekend purely because I've got Crash Bandicoot 4 and Star Wars Squadrons, which unfortunately both aren't on Stadia, but they're both right in my wheelhouse of things. And like you said, Tom, in terms of supporting EA titles, I would love to see Squadrons move over to Stadia because it's a great game and I'm having an absolute blast of a time with it. No pun intended. But I will get to pew pew. I will be getting around to it soon enough. So Celeste, Game of the Year. Contender for not this year, but it was won loads of Game of the Years last year. So that was just one of our 6 titles. So next up as well, we have Human Fall Flat. For those who haven't seen Human Fall Flat, it's basically you are a bunch of little Play-Doh people and you have to solve puzzles, get through things like castle gates, catapults, ski lifts, and basically navigate from point A to point B, the finish line, with a team of other Play-Doh people. And it's just crazy. If anyone's played like Octodad or Gang Beasts, it's in a similar vein to those type of games, but it's nonsensical fun.
It's chaotic.
It is chaotic, definitely. Either of you two jumped in and played this yet?
I haven't played it myself yet, but I did check out our friends over at Stadia Source as well as part of their stream have showcased a little bit of it there. I do want to give a shout out to the game at this point though, to point out that actually on Stadia you actually have up to 16 people can play in a single lobby, whereas on other platforms you can only have up to 8.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
See, I haven't jumped in because I assume that at some point we'll be playing it on our first night streams.
I would have thought so, yeah. It's definitely something that lends itself to us three attempting to create some form of agreed plan and make it through.
With up to 16, I want to see Patreons and community folk in there as well, because it will be absolutely insane.
It's one of them games I could jump in, play a bit on my own, go, this definitely needs multiplayer.
Yeah.
So I'm going to wait until we're playing multiplayer.
Yeah, it's a nice little indie title. It looks like they have added a lot to it in the last year or so. I remember playing it when it came out back on PlayStation, and it was great, but it was very almost barren. I know that's the art style they're going for, but it does look through the Stadia trailer they've added a lot of colour and customization and characterization onto it as well, which should be fun for us all to get in and create our own little Play-Doh people, and we'll go crazy and have some fun of that. Next game up, I'll throw it over back to you, Tom, because I know you for one have purchased and played this game. Another one that's dropped this week is you can say it. I want to say it. Horton? Is there a
no? It's Jotun.
Why don't I want to? Which one? Yeah. Is there another one?
So another title over by the guys who also created Spiritfarer and Sundered. We had those originally. Fantastic art style. really detailed storytelling once again, which is, a success of a lot of these indie titles. Set in sort of like mythical Nord Viking mythology. I love this sort of stuff. I eat it up. It's a great game. It's probably not as highly rated as something like Celeste, but again, it is something that people should spend, give it at least 30 minutes of your time and see how you enjoy it. Nice little roaming adventure.
Yeah, this was one that I looked at buying when it came out initially, but then I think we've got some more titles or something distracted me away from purchasing it. And again, it's kind of back to that. I wonder if there's that little voice in the back of my mind saying it probably might be a pro game because how much was it? Was it 14, 15, give or take? Oh, you're on mute. You've gone mutey. You've gone mutey on us.
Sorry. Yeah, it was around $12.99 or $14.99.
Yeah.
Sorry, I keep trying to mute all my coughs, so I'm getting the habit of
You're
pushing
doing
it.
You're doing a good job. But yeah, I think it's one of those titles where when it dropped at that price, I wanted to play it because of the whole Norse thing, and like you, Tom, I'm really, really into that whole mythology. But part of me in that price, I think, did say, just hang fire, Chris. Just hold off a little bit because it may, if you're not in a rush to play it, it may well drop into that pro subscription, and I've benefited from not buying it, so I'm sure that was
my exact same mentality for that game. It's like, he's a cool looking game that I want to play, but I don't have time to play now. And it just feels like this will be a pro game in the future, so hold off.
I mean, if we're going by that sort of mentality and looking at prices for future pro games, then it doesn't surprise me that Risk of Rain 2 may eventually go to the same thing.
Yeah, there's quite a few.
We'll see.
It's an interesting one with the pro because we haven't had any obviously big, like, to be fair, there's not as many AAA games, but could you see something like Jedi Fallen Order landing on that, or is that too much to ask from EA?
I
think it's too much to ask from EA.
Yeah.
Do you think there's ever a point we get a launch game as a pro, or is that too much to ask?
I think it depends on what happens with cash behind the scenes for Google, really, doesn't it? We know Stadia has its own budget separate to Google, so it depends what happens there, really. But I don't think it's likely to happen. I think the month when we do get a AAA game as a pro game, we won't see 6 titles. It'll be far less.
Like balance the books a little bit with that.
Yeah,
I could see
2.
Something akin to like a Destiny being it, where there's a lot of potential for in-game purchases. So like the developers looking at it and going, yeah, we'll give this game out for free in the first month to get that player base in, but we're going to make our money elsewhere. Well, I wouldn't expect it from an EA.
Yeah, there's a lot of
EA
longer
have
games.
never shown inclination to do that sort of deal. So.
There are some games. I mean, I could imagine something like Rainbow Six Siege would probably benefit more so.
Yeah.
Because again, it's practically free to play everywhere else at this point.
Yeah, Siege is moving to a free to play model anyway, game as a service, as we've talked about before. So that could be something that you could get. Similar to Dead by Daylight, where you get it with maybe like some of the operator packs or something as part of Pro. That'd be pretty cool to see.
Yeah, because you've got Dead by Daylight and you bought the killer packs already, so that's monetizing a Pro subscription purchase off the bat.
That's exactly. I've brought this up several times over like the last year we've been podcasting. I think that's a perfect example of like how you can get people into these games as service. Give them the game for free, then here's some cosmetic DLC or DLC for you to purchase.
Yeah, I think it works.
And if you're playing the game regularly, I'll probably look to buy the packs for Dead by Daylight.
Yeah, if we look at other models as well, for smaller titles, I think there's a kind of a pick and choice moment, and I think Sony have done it well with the likes of Rocket League. And then more recently, you've got Fall Guys, both free games on PlayStation Plus, and they've gone on to make infinite amounts of money based on accessories and add-ons and customization options. Whereas I do think if they launched at maybe £20, $20, their audience would have maybe been a lot smaller, especially for things like Fall Guys. Like, that's gone astronomical.
It depends on the nature of the game, doesn't it, really? I mean, if it's a heavy single-player title, then you're not going to have that opportunity. So it's much likely, or much less likely to turn over an income on that basis. So multiplayer titles are definitely the way forward, I think.
I thought you had something to say at the end there, Richie.
Yeah.
Next up,
pretty much covered what you said.
Next up, we've got Lara Croft and the Temple of Osiris, which again is another game that only came out several weeks ago. Didn't buy it. It was one that I was keen on it, but finding the time to play it, and I've waited. So I honestly say from this week's list, I think there's about 3 titles on here that would have cost me a cumulative £30-40, and Pro has saved me that money instead. But that's from waiting. So interesting mix there. Again, this is another one I think Richie will probably jump with in with on a Thursday. It's a multiplayer puzzle solving, top down, not almost top down. It's like asymmetric, isn't it?
Yeah, it's.
Oh, Tom.
Oh, it's frozen.
That is not a great. He froze very briefly.
I'm back. Am I?
Yeah, you are back.
Yeah,
All
you're
right.
back. Yeah.
It's going to be your follow up to Strange Brigade, but a bit more serious, I think.
Yeah, I jumped in on my own for about 20 minutes before I decided to join them, the Stadia Source guys, and play Bomberman. And it seems fine. I don't really have any strong or positive or negative experience with it.
It looks like it's somewhere between Lara Croft Go and the Tomb Raider reboot games. It's like the perfect, like almost like a filler game. Obviously, no disrespect to it. It looks quite fun still. Especially when you find all the giant scarabs and the Anubis warriors and crocodiles and such, because it's in ancient Egypt, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's the sort of game I think definitely will be a lot more fun when you're playing with other people than compared to playing on your own.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, the direct review quote there is, "It's a great romp to be had with friends." It's the direct
Romp.
quote on the trailer.
Direct
so
romp.
Great romp. And who doesn't love a good romp? Speaking of romping around, we also got another game added on the pro list, but we got Super Hot Mind Control Delete, which is the DLC, if I'm not mistaken, but it's practically its own game.
Yeah,
but on
it's
Stadia,
big enough to be its own title.
It literally is its own title on this one. So again, I've played Super Hot on VR. Personally, this doesn't interest me because I'm so enamored with the PlayStation VR element. Going back and playing this just first person on screen, it detracts something from the enjoyment I've had with this title. But neither of you two have played it in VR, right?
No.
So what's your take?
I haven't jumped into it yet because when Super Hot, the original Super Hot came out, that was a pro game as well. I jumped in for about an hour and was like, this is a cool game that I really want to play in VR. So I kind of just dropped out.
Okay.
I think it does lack something when you're not in VR.
It's interesting because I haven't experienced it at all in VR, so I've been happy just to sit down and play it. I remember talking about it before when we had the announcement about the original Super Hot, that it originally came out as sort of like a flash demo that you could actually play in browser. It seems that within the Stadia community as well, Super Hot and Super Hot Mind Control Delete are definitely two titles that have caught the community by surprise, just in general, particularly for more of your less hardcore, more casual gamers, because they're sort of like, it features that mechanic that a lot of people have never witnessed before in a game. So that's
more of a puzzle game than an action game.
Oh, it's very strategic. You've got to think about everything you do, haven't you? Every movement.
Yeah.
Yeah, every time you touch those sticks, or in VR when you move in VR. So even if you tilt your head or you move either left or right hand, the world moves. So it does lend itself to VR more so. But I'm sure I'll play it. I'm sure I'll check it out just to give a stark comparison with it. But final game up on the list, gentlemen, for our October Pro Games is, of course, the one Dead by Daylight, which we know we've been waiting for quite some time with anticipation. Tom, you called it. You were right last week. You said you think it'll be a pro game. It wasn't, even though we were told it was coming out in September. They lied to us.
You were fooled. You were fooled, all of you.
We were lied to by one whole day. However, it did launch with crowd choice, and that kind of brings us on to our second story of the week, which is crowd choice is live in the world of Stadia with that YouTube integration out there. We played it on Thursday for about 3 or 4 hours. We also played it this weekend with some close friends as well. Basically jumped in, took turns to hunt each other down and kill each other.
Yeah.
I think the community as a whole has been loving this game. I've seen. I think there was a good 6 or 7 streams going from the Stadia content creators community, all just showcasing it, jumping in, and the involvement was great from the community just to get them in. It's great how
people love the engagement of games like this, and particularly with a feature like crowd choice. So overall, absolute success of getting that in with a launch game on Stadia Pro as well.
Yeah, I think this is a perfect October Pro game. It fits that horror theme nicely. It's got a feature that we've been looking after for a long time. And it's actually a very, very fun game to play, even if you do have nightmares of your friends killing you afterwards.
It was so much fun, but less so to set up, wasn't it?
Yeah, so that's kind of another point. So for those out there who aren't content creators, it should be fairly straightforward. You open up the Stadia app, you boot up you don't even have to boot up the game, do you? You go to your account section, settings, and there's an option that says YouTube. Click on YouTube, and it says link to account. Now, most of you out there, rightly so, will have probably just had your Gmail account associated with Stadia is the same as your YouTube channel. For us content creators out there who have a separate channel for Sounds of Stadia and the like, there are 3 of us. Yeah, we obviously don't. We have shared custody of this channel. It's like it's our baby. We have all joint custody. No one's mummy, daddy, anything like that. We had some problems, didn't we, gents, getting set up with this one? And it took us a good back and forth between people in the community. Thank you. Shout out again to Gem Stadia and Original Penguin for reaching out and getting in touch and helping us out with some little Google YouTube algorithms. But we got there in the end.
Yeah. We did After a solid 45 minutes of panicking right before the stream went live.
Yeah, we did have a panic moment where YouTube specifically asked us if we were going to delete something forever. And it said Sounds of Stadia. And again, it explicitly said it wasn't the channel. It was like an element of the channel. But there was still that element of...
I was paranoid.
Delete forever is not a good thing. Anyone who's had to wipe stuff from their memory card or remove a USB flash drive, anything like that, and you get that little message pop up.
You check about 8 times before you click yes, don't you?
Read it, and check it. But either way, the problems aside, we finally got into crowd choice. Yeah. In my opinion, it works good, but there is a lot more improvement that could be done with it.
Absolutely. Once again, it feels like it's sort of like in its beta testing phase. It doesn't quite feel polished yet. So for the people who are wondering how it works at the moment, essentially you have text options in chat. So in the game, in the actual footage that you see, you'll see lists of different options that you can select from. However, if you want to participate in chat, you actually have to type out word for word, letter for letter, capital letter for capital letter as well, in order to actually make your vote counted. What it could probably do with is maybe like a poll that pops up in YouTube chat, or Richie, I think you've said like a drop-down box, something like that instead.
It'd be something as simple as it just pulls it from the game into the chat with all the options and just numerical, so you can just go 1, 2, 3, whatever.
Yes.
Keep just as simple as you possibly can make it for people to engage with.
A radial button and a submit button, something like that.
And having it just like a notification just automatically pushed into chat as well, so you know that the poll is live, and then a notification when it's over. Yeah. And with what the outcome was.
Yeah, so
little things
specific to Dead by Daylight, you could choose. You basically, as the crowd, as the audience in the YouTube comments, you got to vote for who either the killer was or who the victim. What they call victims or the survivors, even though they haven't survived at this point. But yeah, you basically get to vote for that. I would like to see a bit more integration into it. I think it's simple enough. I think not the integration part, but in terms of where you could pluck options out of different games. We found a few things that also need addressing. I think later in one of our titles we realised that if you just spam the chat with your choice, that overvotes.
Yeah, we're not 100% on that yet. We'd have to do some testing, but by initial look, it seemed like that.
So if you were to vote between Chris, Tom, and Richie right now, and someone just went in there and copy and pasted Richie 50 times, and the other 50 people had voted for various different ones, he would outvote everybody else by just numeric value. Which, with a big election coming up, Americans go out there and vote, but you only get one. That's how voting works. You get one vote, otherwise it doesn't work.
Yeah,
don't go and vote twice.
But yeah, that seems like the other things that we mentioned, things room for improvement. That one I'd say is an actual flaw in the system. If it is true, it should be. I was surprised when it seemed to work, because I would have assumed that I'd like almost pick up one vote per name in the chat.
Yeah, every time the poll goes up,
There's huge potential for it though. Like we've now seen it actually work successfully for Dead by Daylight, and we know that a lot of games are going to be coming with it soon. Baldur's Gate 3, we know we're going to have options, dialogue options, and so on going to be available there, so that'll be fantastic. But I think Google do need to perhaps take a look, or the Stadia team need to take a look at other platforms as well. Twitch already does this very successfully. So this is already something that has existed for quite a while in Twitch chat. So they maybe need to do a little bit of, reconnaissance, a bit of field work, and go out and have a look and see how it could be better integrated into YouTube gaming.
They need to fix those generators.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's not too skill check. It's not too bad for us because our chat's usually 30, 40 people tops. Imagine if you've got thousands of people in there. Mm-hmm. If you're one of the biggest streamers in the world, that's going to be much more of a problem.
Yeah,
we can all hope and dream that one day.
It definitely as well, and it was great for us personally to have the crowd involvement there. It definitely did add a different dynamic, and it felt like you were closer to us in a way because you had a say in what we were doing. I have seen as well you can just veto the voting system. So if everyone voted for Richie, we could just go, nah, we're going to go with Tom. By choice.
So it's not the nurse again. The nurse.
Yeah, the nurse or something that you don't want it to do.
Fan favourite.
They could just go for, not necessarily fan favourites, but if it's the worst character, they could just want to ruin your day by making you pick the worst one over and over and over again.
It'd be nice as well if they could integrate it so like the crowd choice apply to all three of us who've got our accounts linked rather than just whoever happens to be streaming.
Yeah, true. Yeah, there's definitely some integration things. But more importantly, I think we're finally happy to see the fruits starting the labour's starting to show true of this kind of Stadia YouTube integration, because it's been a long time coming for something that they announced way back at GDC in April 2019. We're in nearly the end of 2020 now, so it's about time we start to see this. And I think this is just maybe the cork's now popped on this bottle, and we're going to see a couple more things.
Hopefully the search feature's coming soon, and messaging.
Yeah, give us a search feature. Well, we've got.
I forgot about messaging.
Yeah, it's a thing. It's a thing we'll get to. But in terms of wrapping the pro games and the crowd choice up in a neat little bubble, gentlemen, Tom, we'll go to you first. What are your takes on this selection of games? Are you happy with your pro? Surprised we got 6. What are your compromise thoughts?
I think it's a really good selection for going into October. I think they're starting to ramp it up a little bit. Again, there's no big standout AAA games, but I think Dead by Daylight is one that's definitely gotten a lot of people interested. And it's actually sort of rekindled a lot of love for the game as well, which, the game's a good 4 or 5 years old at this point as well. So it sort of like breathed a new breath of life into it, should we say, into something that's decrepit and scary and and so on. We're having a blast with it, and I'm sure you'll see plenty of that this month as well, with it being October.
Oh yes, as soon as we creep closer to Halloween, any game that's got any vague horror tangible link to it, we'll be jumping in and playing, certainly. How about yourself, Richie? Happy with the layout for this one?
Yeah, I kind of just want to echo Tom's thoughts. It is maybe missing a AAA game, but there isn't as many on the platform as we'd like. So they do seem to be compensating by, well, we can't give you a big AAA title, so he's 6 awesome smaller titles.
Yeah.
I can't complain about that, to be honest.
Completely agree. I mean, again, Game of the Year candidate, winner in some regards, and then we've got a horror title perfectly timed for Halloween. And again, I'm glad it was this month and it wasn't the end of October. Could you imagine if it was like 1st of November we got this instead? It'd be like, you kind of missed the boat a little bit on that one. But horror titles, I think, do really well because they, again, similar to horror movies, I think Christmas movies as well. There's always a specific season of the year where it doesn't matter how old or how niche or cult following the movie is, people go back to it every year because it's Halloween, it's Christmas, whatever it may be. And I think
I'm surprised we don't have a Christmas-themed video game sort of genre that's come out yet, really. A lot of horror.
Can you think
no
of
Christmas theme?
Christmassy
games.
Horror lends itself to like a lot of like
it's
tropes that work well in game.
Put me down.
I don't think Christmas would. It's too jolly.
I know.
I have the Grinch game for PlayStation 1 still, and that does not hold up. I don't think it was great at the time, but it also does not hold up well. Walking around Whoville collecting presents and smashing decorations and stuff.
Yeah, you get a lot of Christmas-themed events and games rather than Christmas-themed games.
Yeah,
I'm just going to say I'm sorry. I should not have mentioned Christmas. It's far too early to be talking about this.
Right. It's Halloween. It's Halloween and Bonfire
My
Night
bad.
for those in the UK who celebrate Bonfire Night. So that's a wrap for our pro games. We've mentioned crowd choice. Hopefully, we're going to talk about more integration features in the near future. Next story I want to move on to. Tom, you alluded to it there, but off the back of crowd choice, we do know we get Baldur's Gate 3 early access begins in 2 days' time from the time of recording, so this week on the 6th, I believe. We're getting it dropping on Stadia and Steam at the same time. And this week we've got a little news article saying you will need a Larian account signed up to for that cross-platform play, which makes no sense. I'm just happy that any game that comes out now with cross-platform, I think just benefits Stadia tenfold just for the user base.
Said it makes no sense. I'd say it makes perfect sense needing that account because that accounts in the thing that will sync up the 2 different versions.
I think it's a slip of the tongue. I think you made sense there. Yeah.
What did I say?
You said it makes no sense.
Yeah, you said it make no sense to have a Larian account.
Oh, I did. Yeah, I meant total sense. Total sense.
Yeah, I thought it was a slip of the tongue.
Yes, total sense because it ties everything together. And again, I would prefer that. I prefer to have a Bungie one, a Ubisoft one, anywhere I can just cross-play my games. it only benefits. Again, Avengers, Richie, a Square Enix game, would be fantastic if we could just jump back and forth with friends on other platforms. But again, I think this is the future of gaming. We're now leaning towards that cross-platform play. You two are much keener on Baldur's Gate than I am or probably ever will be. So yeah, if you either of you want to give your take on what this means.
Richie, this one's yours, mate.
Well, I'm a massive fan of Baldur's Gate 1 and 2, so I am still excited for this. I was a little soured on it initially when I saw the first gameplay reveal, because it looks so much like Divinity, and I just could not get away with that game. So I'm probably not going to buy it day one, even though I do have created myself a Larian account. I'm probably going to wait to see what the reviews come in as. Mainly just to see am I judging it a bit unfairly? If the reviews are going to go, if you love Divinity, you'll love this.
Well, that's absolutely fine, mate, because you'll be able to watch me play it, because I'm going to be getting it as soon as it comes out on Tuesday. No, I'm very much looking forward to this. I'll jump into early access. I'm a huge lover of D&D stuff. I played all the Neverwinter Nights games. I didn't actually jump into the Baldur's Gate games previously, which is a massive sin as far as I'm concerned. But as a fan of the Neverwinter Nights games, it definitely feels more akin to those as opposed to the traditional Baldur's Gate games. So I'm definitely going to be able to jump in and you know, the whole point about signing up to a Larian account, it's fine. It's like you said before, Chris, you know, the whole thing about cross with crossplay, you know, you have to do these things because it's all, you know, all of that information is got to be kept remotely somewhere, and Google aren't going to be doing it, and other platforms aren't going to be. So the developers themselves, the publishers themselves, will do that for you.
Yeah. So it's easy. Interesting one for that then, Richie. So you said you're going to wait for the reviews. So does that mean, because it won't be reviewed while it's in early access, most likely. All the big companies will wait till it's finished and out there for public release, right?
There'll be reviews of some description out there about how it plays, but there will be written, I'd imagine, with this game is still in early access.
Yeah.
Here's what we think so far. Because a lot of things like the major story beats, they're not going to change.
True.
The way the game ultimately plays is largely going to be consistent throughout the early access period.
Okay,
but
it's a fair take.
I am starting to think now, after hearing you speak, Tom, I might have to buy it so I can play co-op.
If you want me to pick it up on Tuesday and then you make a decision 5-10 minutes down the line, mate, I'm happy to stream it just for you to make a decision. It's fine.
I'll figure it out.
All right. Okay.
So in relation to that, then, with it being early access, are you expecting a cheaper price point, Tom?
Yeah, absolutely.
What's a ballpark figure you're thinking?
Baldur's Gate 3 will probably be on release. I'm expecting it'll be around. Oh man, I don't want to say it's going to be a £50 game. I don't know, but there's going to be so much to do in it that it could very well be. So early access, I'd be happy probably paying up to about the £30 marker, I would say.
Yeah, I'd agree. I think as big as the Baldur's Gate franchise is, it's very much a cult classic. I think if they're trying to pitch this as a £60 game, they're going to have problems selling the amount they'd expect. Because again, it's a cult classic. It's not. I don't think it's that mainstream, to be honest, as a game.
I think that's one of the reasons I think I haven't played it before, because it's
getting a bit more attention. I genuinely think it's getting a bit more attention because it's on Stadia and there's less on the platform.
Maybe. We shall see, but we don't have to wait long, everybody. So there's one thing. Some other things we don't have to wait long for. Moving on to our next story. Google held their Google Launch Night In this past week, which I saw loads of people reporting in the US, quite ironic, because I think it was on at like 11 a.m. in the morning for them, so it's not much of a launch night in when it's so early. But for us over in Europe and UK side, they announced a bevy of new products, several of which being a new Nest Audio speaker. Doesn't really do much for our podcast, other than if you're listening to it, I suppose you get crystal clear bass and richer tunes from the Nest Audio speakers. But more importantly, I think the things that pertain to Stadia, we got a new announcement of a Pixel 5 and a 4a 5G. Again, all fantastic. They look great. I think the Pixel range always look quite smart and sharp. I do love the variation on colours they brought out. The only thing for me is they seem to have stepped back from being a flagship model now. I don't know if you two have had a chance to look at the specification, but it's definitely they've reeled it back a little bit on going out for the big hitters being up there. The price indicates that alone. It comes in at a cheaper price point than you would get for something, say, a Galaxy Samsung S20, and rumoured the new iPhone that's probably going to be announced next week sometime. So they seem to be stopped. Don't get me wrong, it's great value, but it's definitely not hitting for that massive top tier flagship. Pixel, obviously in cohesion with Stadia as well. Richie, you've got a Pixel 4 XL, right?
Yes, I do.
So, so the 4A does nothing for you, I take it.
No, well, I didn't even look at the specs or anything for it because my Pixel 4 XL's 8-9 month old now. I've probably got another at least year and a half out of it, so I'm just not really tuned into the phone market at the moment because there's no real need for me to be.
No, I totally agree. To give you an idea of the price, I think the Pixel 5 is coming in at about $700 just short of, whereas the iPhone will be well over $1,000 usually. So easily. There's a big market difference there.
I wouldn't compare it to the iPhone, to be honest, in price. I think something like comparing it to Samsung makes a bit more sense because the iPhones are always a bit more pricey because of Apple.
True.
Do you know?
Even then, Samsung are starting to lean that way as well with their top tier models. But then again, Samsung make about 50 variants in everything in between, so you've got that variety if you choose it. But the kind of biggest story we want to get to out of all this is in the part of the launch night, and they did also announce the Chromecast TV, the new Chromecast with Google TV, I think it's called now.
Yes,
that's its official term. They announced it, even though it was already on the shelves. Funnily enough, that was the big ironic thing, is if you lived in the United States, you could actually go buy this from, I believe it was Home Depot. It was one of the places I saw where you could buy it, take it home, it would work, and this was a day or two before the actual official announcement of the product, which again just goes back to Google. What the hell are you playing at? How are these products able to buy publicly when you've not even announced them yet?
I think the reason this is happening, I think Google need to probably do something legally against this sort of stuff because these sort of leaks keep coming, and they're coming because retailers realise we've got all this stock. We're putting the shelf for sale, and there's no negative side effects for us. And we get the head of the conversation. People are interested in this product, and they hear, "Oh, it's at Home Depot." Everyone goes to Home Depot to buy it.
Yeah, the thing is, I don't even think they stopped Home Depot. I just think they sent them the stock with no embargo or anything, and just because I don't think
they must have had an embargo. Surely you like this launches on this date.
It's all publicity. Google are making money from it. They don't care.
Well, exactly.
Well, there's that as well. Yeah.
To focus on specifically for Stadia and the Chromecast TV, great. It comes with a controller now, a remote control. It's got all of your TV shows and such and movies you can essentially see now in a full timeline. It basically correlates all of your favorite things from all the different Netflix, Amazon, Disney Plus into one timeline. Few things for Stadia specifically. There's no Ethernet connection. It's also not getting Stadia until early 2021 was a big extra bonus that Stadia had to quote tweet underneath off the back of the made by Google announcement that it was coming to Stadia early 2021 because they know surely the community was going to get up in arms about why Stadia isn't on that main dock list. It's got movies, TV, ebooks, apps, or music probably as well, and there's under games there's nothing for Stadia, which it baffles me, but I suppose it's going for a wider audience. But your take on this, gentlemen? 50 quid, 50, 60 quid, I think you can pick one of these up for.
So it depends how detailed we want to go with this. It is possible to get Stadia on it right now by sideloading the APK, so you can actually do that yourself right now, and it actually works incredibly well. So it is possible to do. It's not all doom and gloom, but it's not really very consumer friendly to do that. You know, it's not the kind of thing that I would expect my mum to do, for example. Not that my mum is a Stadia gamer, but
I wouldn't even
shout out to my mum. But
yeah, I'd be scared about doing it myself.
I think it's a huge miss for Stadia. I think it's a massive oversight, particularly with the next story we're going to talk about.
Yeah, I was going to touch on that.
That right now I don't think it's the greatest marketing move. Plus, by saying that it's going to happen early 2021, I mean my current feeling is, do they know what's happening in the gaming landscape right now with next gen launching like very, very soon? But I don't want to get too doom and gloom about it because, you know, we still have lots of different ways we can play, lots of different places we can play, and one little new device is not going to change that whatsoever.
Yeah. I think we're going to have to just fold the next story into this one because I think they're very strongly linked.
I agree.
So the next story is the Chromecast Ultra is gone from the Google Store. You can still buy it at selected retail partners, but I notice in the UK and at Currys and in Argos, it is on sale, down to about £50 in both of them, which to me implies they're trying to get rid of stock. So I think we can safely say that this is the new Chromecast Ultra. This is the direct replacement for it.
Yeah.
Well, that's the idea. I mean, it supports up to 4K as well. So yeah, definitely.
Which is exactly why I completely agree with you, Tom. Not having Stadia on this at launch is a little bit of a problem, and that is coming from someone who has pre-ordered one.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's interesting. Which colour did you go for?
I went for sky blue.
Sky blue, interesting. Not that it matters because it's behind your television and you're not going to see.
Yeah, it's literally. I looked at the colour remote. Yeah, the blue one looks
I suppose,
nicest.
the remote. So for me, there's a few key points I think we need to talk about, and that is it not being there at launch. To the average consumer, it doesn't matter because this is clearly marketed at getting those people who have an Amazon Fire Stick or they're maybe in the market for one this holiday season. $50, £60. It's a great shoe-in for combining all of your subscription television shows into one. I do think it's a big missed opportunity, and I think tied in with that second story there about the Chromecast Ultra dissipating. If you search for Google Chromecast, their website on the Google Store now takes you straight to the new one. There is no sign of a Chromecast Ultra. And like you said, Richie, once they're gone, that's great. My worry is, like you said, Tom, the gaming landscape. Everyone this Christmas, this holiday season is going to be, not everyone obviously, but for gamers out there, for families with children who are then asking for the latest gaming tech, you're going to have PlayStation sold out everywhere. Pre-orders the news is all over. Xbox pre-orders sold out everywhere. Nintendo Switch is hot as shit right now still. If there's no Chromecast Ultras, does that mean the only way to get in the door with Stadia as part of like an official Stadia package is with the Premier Edition for £100?
If you want the controller and want access on a TV, yes. Yeah. I think the other thing that needs to be said here is with Amazon really ramping up the Luna launch as well, the early access there, we already know that Luna is going to be launching on every Fire device that exists already. Like, you don't need to purchase a new device for that. As long as you've got a Fire Stick, it will work on that. So I think that is something that the Stadia team should really be conscious of with this here. And that communication should have happened like prior to all of this.
It's just a shame because in another world they would have showcased it, and along the top where it says for you, television, movies, apps, it would have just said Stadia.
And the APK works, the app works on it already, so why not just have the app there anyway? Yes, it's not polished enough to the point that if you launch it, it's ready to go. It basically acts like the mobile version, so you still have to go through mark experimental, you still have to say enable touch controls or controller or whatever there. But it could still have been there just for the sake of that.
Even if
just until they get it polished.
Even if going along to the Stadia tab it says play great games coming to the Chromecast early 2021, stadia.com for more information, just as a holding slide, just then people who have it go, oh okay, and then maybe in early 2021 they'll have skimmed through it going, oh, that Stadia thing's still there, and it's like it's changed, it's live, or you get a little notification that comes up when you boot up your TV that says the Stadia app's live now, go check the tab out, rather than it having to be part of an update that comes in March, April time maybe.
Yeah, having a placeholder there, it comes down to mindshare. It's like you've just bought this, so this is a mass market device. This isn't a gamer device. So people will be buying this because I'm in the market for like a Fire Stick, or I've got that old Chromecast sat in the back of my TV for the last 15 years. It's time to upgrade it. I've just got this new 4K TV. Let's get one of these. And if Stadia is one of them apps that's featured on your home screen, people go, oh, I wonder what that is.
Yeah, you're not going to get that on your living room TV with PlayStation because you need to buy the £400-500 console for that. You're not going to get that with Xbox.
It's free marketing to people essentially buying your device anyway.
And I guarantee you, these things coming in at $49 in the States, come Black Friday, these are going to be what, 30?
They're going to be shit hot. They're going to be shit hot. They're going to be absolutely flying off the shelves.
They're going to be in every electronics store, every supermarket on the end. And again, we talk about it. It's marketing. And yes, it may not be good to go just yet, but even like you said, Richie, that placeholder. And now, without getting too ahead of ourselves, I would like to think this potentially could bode well for a Stadia-specific stick for just gaming. So instead of the Premier Edition come with a 5-year-old Chromecast Ultra, because remember that if the Ultra's gone its end of line, you can't buy it on its own. Does this mean that Stadia is Premier Edition comes with Ultras for the foreseeable future, or is there something that's got to change there as well?
Yeah.
And I think this, again, we could be getting ahead of ourselves, and we could actually be looking at a cheaper Premier Edition that comes with a smaller Stadia.
Just remember, if I can just interject, sorry, because I know you've both got really important points you want to make on this, but just remember that we've bought into this service with one of the caveats that, or like one of the selling points is that you don't have to keep upgrading the hardware. We're getting different messaging now, which is all of a sudden like the Ultra is now gone. Here's a new Chromecast.
True.
Yeah.
You don't have to replace your Ultra, though.
No, you don't have to replace the Ultra, but at some point, those devices are going to die. It happens. Like, it's inevitable. The other thing I was going to add very quickly is, imagine in an ideal world instead that... I've got an ice cream van outside.
Oh,
you take over.
Just enjoy it, listeners. Okay, back to your point.
Right, back to my point, which is far more interesting. In an ideal world, imagine on November 19th, so you've bought your new Chromecast with Google TV, you boot it up, and as you said, Chris, there's a splash screen there that says like Stadia coming soon, play all of your favorite games without the need for blah, blah, blah. You know, we could do some really good selling points right there. November 19th, boom, Stadia 1 year anniversary, you load it up, splash screen comes up, and all of your favorite new AAA titles are there. We get some big announcements, let's say, at the next event that we get. And then they're there immediately. You've already got the device. You can jump straight into it. That would be ideal. That would be what they should go for. I wouldn't be surprised if the Stadia team or the Google marketing team may have seen the general community feedback and may even push for the app to be there before early 2021, whether we might get it by the back end of this year, because, you know, it hasn't been received very well there. I would like to think that could happen.
Yeah, I always try and picture it from like a consumer perspective, and I think if I'm a parent, I've got my kid there, and they're flicking through, because children are going to be there popping through Disney Plus and Netflix left, right, and centre. Yeah. If they just skim along to Stadia and it says something like FIFA or Cyberpunk or something that's like in the public mindset, that because it's a big massive launch, it just came out and their friends are all playing it on PlayStation 5 because they're lucky enough, they're fortunate enough, their parents have got them a console for Christmas or something, and they go, Mum, Dad, we can't have that for whatever reason, but the TV's already got this thing that says Stadia and has FIFA, has Cyberpunk, has Assassin's Creed Valhalla. What do I need? And the parent looks into it, oh, what do I need? Oh, your old Xbox 360 controller, because the Chromecast TV is a Bluetooth, right, as well?
Yeah.
Yep. So you can hook up your Xbox, your old controller you've got in your bedroom with your little brother, or your old PlayStation controller kicking around, up to the TV, and I can get your Cyberpunk for 60 quid without having to drop the £400 for a new console. Hell yes, son, you can have that, you can do that. Oh, but wait, Stadia isn't there. Coming early 2021 does not work for the consumer who's got the product in their home this Christmas.
It needs to be pushed there pre-Christmas, I think. It needs to be pushed ideally, as you said before. If you could get it there for Black Friday, that would be ideal. Like if it's there for Black Friday, ready with some big November titles, that's where it should be.
For me, it's systematic of Google's different divisions act, in my opinion, sometimes too independent of each other. Where if one of the strengths that Google could have is a synchronized launch for something like a product like this.
They're such a smart company. Like they have so much power at their disposal, but it's just like it's like
the teams are too separate.
There's no connection between them, and because of that, it's just it just falls apart, and it's such a shame to see.
This brings me on to my other point. It's a bit of a tinfoil hat point. Do you think they're holding off on the release of Stadia onto the new Chromecast to help ship what's left of the Chromecast Ultra stock from the Premier Edition?
I mean, it's a business decision. I could see that happening.
I think that is a stupid business decision.
It is awful.
Because what you could do is you could ship them off to physical retailers, stick them on the shelves in Currys, mark them down to get rid of the stock, while you sell these proper.
I mean, the Google TV comes in under the Chromecast Ultra price point as well, so the new product's undercutting the old product off the bat.
Yeah, not really, because the old product comes with the controller.
No, the Ultra.
Oh, yeah.
Just the Ultra by itself,
yeah.
So it's such a weird one, but actually, as another beat to this story as well, did you both realise that they stealth released a Ethernet power brick as well?
Yeah, I did catch that one.
So if you do buy,
it went very Nintendo. Let's not provide the charger in the box with your device.
No, you get the charger, you just don't get the Ethernet adapter part.
Once again, this takes me back to the point I made before about how we're buying into this system with the idea of not having to buy extra equipment and so on. Yet here we are. Now you've got to buy a power adapter with an Ethernet socket if you don't have very good Wi-Fi.
Yeah, so Richie, your scenario then, you've pre-ordered the Google TV. And I for one, will honestly say I'm really intrigued because I want my Amazon, I want my Netflix and Disney Plus all to be on one screen with a remote. That'll be so much handier than casting, which is what I currently do for a lot of stuff. But then come early 2021, Richie, you're going to have to update your stick with the Stadia update, from what we're being told. Then you're going to have to hope that should happen automatically. You're going to then have to hope your internet, your Wi-Fi is good enough. If not, you're going to have to go out and buy an adapter to then rig it up to get Stadia to run as it does now with your Ultra.
Yeah. Yeah, I was already in the market for an Ultra or Premier Edition anyway. I don't really need another controller. It's the other Chromecast I was after.
Yeah.
The reason I went for this is because it's about £5 more than the Ultras that are currently on sale, and I'm happy to wait out for Stadia to be there because it doesn't actually change my use case at the moment too much. What will happen is once this gets updated to have I'm probably going to leave my Chromecast Ultra in my telly anyway for Stadia when this is plugged in. And once this gets updated to have Stadia, I'm going to move my Chromecast Ultra into my office.
Right. Big plans.
Yeah, but it's not going. I'm probably not going to need an Ethernet adapter because of how close the Chromecast will be to my router. It's like less than a meter away. Like,
yeah, that's fair.
But in a nutshell, I think we're all on the same page where in my heart of hearts, I just hope whatever this new Stadia connectors that we should be getting imminently, we generally have got them every 3 months, so we're pushing it now as we head in towards November. And their birthday, their anniversary, we're hopefully going to see a connector. And again, we get ahead of ourselves sometimes because we're just hungry for news. And at the end of the day, we do a news podcast, so it's kind of it's in our wheelhouse to talk about these kind of things. But in regards to the Chromecast TV, some better marketing beats could have been hit. I think we could all agree that. It's not terrible. It's not the worst thing. I think the product looks quite good. It's just a shame that it's missing this arm.
They've been clear marketing at least. Yeah, that's this is the information's there. It's nice and clear. Stadia is coming next year.
Yeah. As another quick follow-up, Richie, when you got your Pixel, did it come with Stadia installed on it already, or did you have to download the app?
I download the app, which I think is actually I just ported everything over from my
old one,
my old phone. So but I do think I've been a massive advocate of Android having Stadia as a preloaded app.
Yeah,
I'm deletable but preloaded.
Yeah, I'm curious if the Pixel 5 will make that jump because I've seen a lot of propositions of if you buy the Pixel 5, you get 3 months Stadia. There was a great advert with that guy playing it in the park. I get very excited and animated about it.
Actually, while we're on that topic as well, it's very much worth shouting out that I think the marketing for Stadia at that particular point there was the best marketing we've seen to date for Stadia in general. And they need more of that. I mean, it was really obvious that it was basically a paid-for ad. Like they got, the guy, shout out to Dashi, he's got 5 million plus YouTube followers. He's such an advocate for gaming, but it's not his normal thing. So it's very much, but he's so animated that it gets people like that's a million, immediately 5 million people on YouTube who know that guy, who are now aware of Stadia because of that ad.
Yeah, I think the fact that he's not massive in gaming is probably key there, actually, because it shows someone he's got half a foot in gaming, experience in gaming in a different way.
Yeah, I just think they're the type of moves they need to keep doing. Yeah. But again, it would have been great if he could have showcased that with the Pixel, and then he could have followed that up with. And if you want to play that, also play it on your TV with our new Chromecast with TV and Stadia. Early 2021, and this is where like that unified marketing needs to happen as we head into.
It would have been nice to see him playing on his phone, walk into his house, and then just cast straight over the TV.
Yeah, because he did such a good job at showcasing it out and about. It would have been great to see him. Yeah, that would have been a great segue into just the home and then the TV. But either way, we'll hopefully be seeing more as we head into Stadia's second birthday. We did get some more updates throughout the week in regards to the controller. So we found a few new extra nice features come out. So the controllers now support Tandem Mode. Which I didn't expect to ever be a thing, but here it is. Wow, Richie, you've tested Tandem Mode out.
Yeah, I tried for a weird use. I went for a weird use case because you've got to when you can. It didn't work for me, but admittedly, I was using the DualShock 2 through an adapter into my controller through Google Chrome. It is not supported. Wow. I wasn't expecting it to work, but I had to try because
you tried a DualShock 2.
Yeah, I tried DualShock 2.
Wow, that's impressive.
It wasn't even officially called the DualShock 2, was it? It's probably just the DualShock. Wow.
There's my DualShock 2.
All them wires. But in terms of the Tandem Mode, for those who aren't too sure, essentially you plug your second controller into your USB-C port on your Stadia controller. So you link your Stadia controller up to Google Stadia, plug in a second controller, and that by tandem, just like a bike, will attach it to your game. So you can essentially have any controller hardwired into your Stadia controller.
Not any.
Not any, obviously. There are certain kinds, but all of your modern current ones.
But I think it's PS4, Xbox One.
But there's so much more potential for it as well. I mean, I want to give a massive shout out to Google for doing this because it also opens it up to accessibility controllers. So for people who do suffer from disabilities and aren't able to maybe physically use a controller on the normal layout, it allows them to use those adaptive controllers with it as well. So it allows more access to gaming. But even then, even further, we've seen things on Reddit already of people putting in USB hubs to allow them to connect 3-4 extra devices, keyboards, mice, headsets, the whole works, really. So it's a real strange thing. Like, I never expected Tandem to be something to happen.
It's such a smart workaround for the Ultra. It's like, well, actually, you got a load of friends around, you got 4 DualShock 4 sat there, use your Stadia controller effectively as a USB hub to connect them all, and you can sit down and play FIFA when it comes out.
Yeah. It takes us back to that daisy chaining idea of plugging in like
multi-link
GameCubes,
multi-tap.
You just
Game Boys
into
Xbox, like just into GameCubes.
We've already talked about before. I used to have a Panasonic 3DO, and that literally to plug in multiple controllers, you had to daisy chain them. There was only one port on the front of the device.
It's like
throw back to the 80s and early 90s.
I was thinking like the human centipede of games consoles.
Oh, God.
Knock it down a level.
I mean, it was terrible. But
we got these updates. It's great. One of the other updates they did say was USB-C headset support also through the controller is it readily available. So basically, if you've got a modern set of headphones, I know a lot of mobile phones now don't come with the 3.5 audio jack, so you probably will have some kind of adapter for a USB-C connection. That means if you plug them into your Stadia controller rather than going through the auxiliary port, it will also work now. So there's some fantastic nice little updates for accessibility and using the equipment you already have, which we've alluded to a couple of times in the show. I think linking it back in with the Chromecast story, actually, we didn't really cover it off, but people have already said you can plug the Chromecast into a USB hub as well and connect different things to it via that. So apparently the Chromecast will charge through USB this way. So it just looks like all of these products that they've just came out with, along with these updates, it's all universal, which is great. You should just be able to attach anything to it. I'm trying to think Tandem Mode, what other variations you could have if you had like a USB-C splitter. Would that go? Will we ever see an official Google like multi-tap cable where if you've got one Stadia controller, but like Richie said, 4 DualShocks, can I link all 4 to the Stadia controller and then it's good to go?
I don't think you need it because USB splitters are fairly common anyway. So I don't think it's necessary.
Now, one interesting thing I could think of here is USB-C connects to a lot of mobile devices currently as well, and also can be converted to HDMI. So HDMI can run through USB-C. I wonder whether you could, and I mean, this is a real far-fetched thing, whether you could almost have like extra screens or something to, just strange peripheral setups, really, is what I'm going for.
As someone who likes PC gaming as well as console gaming, one of the biggest things for me, I think, it could be the being able to plug in the keyboard and mouse to the controls. So I can use it from a Chromecast Ultra.
Interesting.
I think that might be one of the main uses of it going down the line.
But again,
even when the new Chromecast comes out, because most keyboards and mice are Bluetooth.
Certainly. But it's interesting to see that I'm still adding these little updates and these little features that, again, it's just accessibility, it's ease of use, and it's more variety. So it's all feeding into that narrative that you can use your old equipment still. It may be an odd way of doing it by hardwiring it in, but it's an option that is available. So it just, again, it gets rid of any of those people going, well, I don't have 4 Stadia controls, so how can I play Human Falls Flat co-op or a future Lego game or whatever it may be? And the easy way is just plug it in. Fixed. Plug it in. There's your problem solved.
It's frozen.
No, you frozen from my end.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm recording, remember, so...
Yeah.
Here we go. Final couple of stories. We've got a secret ESRB rating. Got my letters mixed up there. Coming out, we've got Secret Neighbor sought out for Stadia, which off the back of Hello Neighbor and Hide and Seek being announced, I'm not surprised. From what I've seen of the trailer for this, it essentially looks, gentlemen, like Dead by Daylight, but without the murdering blood and crazy, like,
Kiddy's Dead by Daylight.
Face. Yeah, well, yeah. I mean,
Baby's
don't get me wrong.
first Dead by Daylight.
Hello Neighbor's quite creepy and scary in its own right, but like you said, yeah, without the maniacal weapons and chainsaws and traps and such.
Yeah.
Excited for this one?
It's on the radar. It's on the radar again. It's another game that I think we could jump into. One thing I will say, and I don't want to be all negative Nancy on it, but I tried out Hello Neighbor on Stadia, and the PC build is kind of notorious for not being the smoothest in terms of gameplay, frame rate, and so on. That's sort of transitioned across to the Stadia version as well, so it's not actually the nicest experience for a game there. So I'm hoping that doesn't affect the future releases that are coming to the platform right there, but it is something that I'm hoping that they improve upon.
Interesting. Yeah, in terms of me, it's like it looks more fun than Hello Neighbor actually does. I didn't really vibe with that much when I played it. Secret Neighbor's due out on 24th of October on Xbox. It was announced at their showcase thing. But also, we haven't heard about Hello Neighbor 2 coming to Stadia yet. So we've got the original, the DLC, the kind of mini sequel Hide and Seek, and now we've got Secret Neighbor rated, not official yet, just rated. But no 2, so it's an interesting one if they're doing the PC builds across as well, and it is quite janky, we'll see. But if it's anything like Dead by Daylight, I'd probably be really interested in jumping in with you guys and the community and playing some of that. So, especially
I'd always give it a shot. Always give it a shot.
Exactly. It might even be a pro game.
Who knows?
It feels like it should be a pro game, to be honest. I hope it is.
You hope it is.
If it's not, I'm probably unlikely to buy it.
Yeah. We got some quick game announcements as well this week. We got Power Rangers Battle for the Grid is getting some Scorpina DLC.
Scorpina.
I actually remember Scorpina, so she must be one of like the OG. I feel like she was introduced just after the movie, but you're talking like 15 plus years back, if even longer. So don't hold me to that one, but it's nice to see some DLC content coming out, and they do showcase Stadia on the advert or the YouTube video for it as well, which is fantastic. And off the back of Dead by Daylight, we're also finding out about Mortal Kombat 11 getting some additional DLC, the All Hallows Eve pack, which looks like it's coming with a lot of Halloweeny additional skins and such to drop in for Mortal Kombat, because I know a few people in the community are really keen on this game and getting it out there with the crowd choice as well. They have not mentioned crowd choice for this yet, but it seems like a game that would lend itself perfectly.
Yeah.
Just for simpler character selection.
Yeah, like roster or like choosing.
Yeah, I think
like
a lot of people are calling out for stuff like that as well. I think it'd be nice when we get. There was another feature we haven't actually touched upon yet, which they've briefly announced, which is crowd boost as well, which can either it can impact gameplay based on user decision in chat as well, which can either help or hinder the person who's actually streaming. So it's definitely something.
It's going to hinder.
Oh yeah, 100%. But still,
yeah,
looking forward to these sorts of things.
Looking forward to it. So more games, more add-ons, more DLC. Always great to see. You love to see it. But that's it in terms of updates for games this week. One of the things I did want to throw out there in terms of game updates, a bit of a negative one, but Mafia Definitive Edition is now out now in the wild. I've seen a couple people on Twitter playing it on PlayStation and stuff. Where is it on Stadia? We still just waiting. Same with Definitive Edition 2 and 3. Another big concern for me and probably yourself, Richie, is FIFA 21 is due out next Friday, October 6th. Where you at, EA? You said the fall. You said August. We're now in the thick of it, and we.
October 6th is Tuesday, not Friday as well, so it's even closer.
Oh,
yeah. But yeah, FIFA 21 is one I definitely want. I definitely want on Stadia.
Yeah, just for the.
But I don't fancy waiting until June for it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Definitely not. That would be a mistrick right there.
I also don't want an old 100%. Version or a reskinned version of last year's. But again, it's roadmap. Give us a roadmap. These games are coming thick and fast, and we know about the big hit. Ubisoft have been clear from day one with what they're getting. We're still a bit iffy on Cyberpunk.
Yeah.
EA have been deadly silent. We haven't heard anything.
Yeah, actually, other than the Kinect, EA specifically haven't said anything themselves. But yeah, Cyberpunk's quiet, so it's just kind of I feel like I'm getting that feeling again that the games I'm excited for these next couple of months, I don't want to make that decision where when FIFA comes out next week and I still haven't heard anything, does that little voice get in my ear where my friends are all playing on PlayStation? I'm thinking, okay,
we're all turning to Debbie Downers.
But this is only hurting Google themselves, because I could get this on my PS4. I want it on Stadia, but because I don't know when it's coming out.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
this is FIFA specifically.
Just tell me when it's coming.
Is one I genuinely want on Stadia because I don't need the disc version, because again it's just an annualized game. It doesn't really change that much year on year. I just want to play the new game. I didn't buy last year's FIFA, so I'm ready for that next purchase. And
FIFA is one of them games I'll jump in every now and again, play a couple of matches through a career mode. So it's one I don't like changing the disc all the time because it's a pain in the ass.
Yeah, but I'd also like to play it on my phone. I can't do that on PlayStation, and that's why Stadia, the literal Stadia selling point, is selling me on buying it on Stadia. And now we're a few days out from launch, and I don't know if I can buy it yet. And these messages need to be clarified. It's no good just dropping it on a random Tuesday in the middle of November when it launched several weeks earlier everywhere else. Get with it.
Even if it was the end of the month, that's fine. Just tell me when.
Yeah. But do we still think we're getting Cyberpunk this year, gentlemen, with all this crunch stories going around? You think?
Yeah, I mean the whole thing that came up with CD Projekt Red was, yes, they were increasing their work hours, but it was because they didn't want to delay the game any further.
For other platforms, though.
It's coming. I can't lose faith. I cannot lose faith.
They've actually already shipped it to be printed to CDs and to the Blu-rays and stuff already, and this is why the crunch is happening now, because they still need to get that day one patch sorted.
I don't know. They also can't really afford another delay. But aside from that, remember, we haven't got a concrete date for I'm getting to the point where I feel like Stadia's going to get bumped to 2021.
It can't. I can't be negative about that point. Yeah. I have to be positive. I have to remain positive. We are getting Cyberpunk in 2020. We're getting it this year.
I'm optimistic. I think the reason we're not hearing anything is because Stadia tend to shadow drop absolutely everything, regardless how.
Hey. If FIFA 21 drops on Tuesday, brilliant. Like, absolutely.
It wouldn't surprise me. It genuinely wouldn't surprise. It wouldn't surprise me if in the blog post on Tuesday it's like FIFA 21's out now.
Hey there, sports fans.
Hey, sports fans, you like soccer?
But it also wouldn't surprise me if they went, it's coming next month. Like,
I could also see them just saying nothing, and it comes and goes everywhere else. But
I feel like a title like FIFA or I mean, Madden's already out and we haven't got Madden.
FIFA's one that should be... FIFA and Madden, these ones that should be shouting from the rooftops out, because there's a very big section of gamers who they only play that one game every year.
They did plenty of it for PGA 2K21. They did plenty of it for that. So, what?
How many people have consoles in their living room only to play FIFA every year?
Yeah, exactly.
This is perfect for Stadia. That's a market that you can take.
Yeah, that's why I want it. And I'll tell you what else I want, ladies and gentlemen. I want an ice cream. Ever since Tom's ice cream fan noise went through, I really fancied an ice cream. Something nice and cool to chill me down from getting too stressed about these release dates that we don't know about on Stadia. But that has been your news for the week, and that has been the Sounds of Stadia podcast, episode number 54, where myself, Chris, Tom, and Richie bring you all the news wrapped up and condensed down into an hour or so show. We've covered off quite a lot this week, gentlemen. Games, devices, future plans and roadmaps. But I'll tell you what, you may not have the release date, but we can guarantee you that next week, episode 55 will be coming to you on the 10th of October. Lock it in now. There will be no crunch. There will be no delays. We'll come to you as always. I said the 10th. That's the day we record it. I actually mean the 12th. The 12th. So communication issues aside, thank you everyone for stopping by this week. Don't forget to go and check out just like Stadia. Don't forget to check out our Dead by Daylight stream where we tested out crowd choice and a couple of the other videos we've been working on as well behind the scenes. And don't forget to join us this Thursday for our community live stream where we join you and play some games as well, because we've got a lot of variety. We need to settle on what we want to play this week, everybody. But thanks for stopping by. My name's been Chris.
I'm going back to bed.
I've been Richie.
We've been Sounds of Stadia. Take care, everyone. Have a great week. Goodbye.
Bye.
Ice cream jingle, Tom.
Ice cream jingle, ice cream jingle.